I'm 70 years old, but as an Indian man, I think I'm about just 35, 40 years old when I got on the road. And so I just wanted to say that, perhaps on behalf of veterans, especially
Who
those.
actually also went to Standing Rock, and there's a whole number of them that asked for forgiveness and basically owned up, right? So if you can you speak about that maybe?
Oh,
Madonna?
yeah, that was a whole contingency nationwide. We had, it comes to mind, just what Tony was talking about, we had a group of, Mexican-American Afghanistan, all of that, veterans. A couple of them were Vietnam vets, but they all had all their regalia, their insignia, and they were, two of them were gonna get deported. What do they call it? Taken.
Yeah.
And they were combat vets for the Army, the United States Army, and they came to Standing Rock. Cause they said, we just found each other and we got it together and said, we gotta go.
Now, if I may inject there, even in Vietnam, the government was offering Mexicans who don't have citizenship to join up. And after, if they survive Vietnam, they'll give them citizenship. A lot of them, of course, they were double-crossed.
Yeah.
Like even Iraq and Afghan veterans who were promised citizenship. They weren't given that. They're at the Tijuana border still. I think there was just a court case recently that some of them can start coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of betrayal, even on that score.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. You said
Raise your voice.
Okay.
Yes.
You said that they go twice a year to Palestine, or they go twice a year.
The group that we traveled with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go twice a year. I'll tell you off camera, offline, the name of the group.
Yeah. I wanna know.
Because they are increasingly under scrutiny. But yeah, you should go with them.
Yeah, because like I've been thinking about going myself, but there's a group that goes. Like,
You should organize a group of students. We have a memorandum of understanding with Al-Najah National University, one of the biggest universities in Palestine. Students, you should organize together. Go ask the administration to make possible for you to go to Palestine. And then I will be very happy to take you.
Okay.
As a study tour.
I
Just
couldn't-
go
I
organize
couldn't
yourself.
I couldn't
Organize
imagine a better
yourself,
person.
you
I have a
know.
passport.
I
I'm
mean,
ready.
But organize yourselves and collectively organize, because I can't do that for you. I mean, you really need to be doing it, and it becomes part of your study. Study abroad. The university calls itself a global university. Be global.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but okay, you can also, okay, who, yes, easy, right?
Yeah. So hi, my name is Cece. Thank you so much for engaging us in this conversation. I guess I have two questions. The first is, I guess particularly about your experiences at Standing Rock. Right now, I'm thinking a lot about, especially about Red Fawn, who has faced extreme amount of repression and is currently still incarcerated. And I'm thinking a lot about the, like, I guess the ways, like all the different ways in which you all face repression and connections between the testing of technology on Palestinian peoples and then exporting of that technology to this settler colonial state. And I'm wondering if you can just share maybe like your reflections about the ways that like you and other folks and like your comrades are I guess like advice on like facing repression from the state and things that you found helpful, like maybe advice you can give to people in the room who are thinking about like ways to be able to, I guess, continue to organize and to stave off repression. And the second question is maybe about, I guess like who are like young people that you're inspired by currently, or like maybe like things that like you've read recently that I guess like fill you with a level like of hope or like joy in a world that's like really can be like dark right now.
Okay. First question?
Well, Red Fawn, you wanna talk about Red Fawn?
Yeah. No, not specifically about Red. My take is I was there the entire time as an elder to let the young people know we have your back. Because that's how my elders were for me when I was young. They had our back. Every time we were gonna do anything, they were there, they'd show up. You know, and they never, you know, browbeat us or never told us, you know, step by step, they just sent us out there. You make mistakes, that's how you learn. But you're out there. That was the main thing. You're out there and we have your back. So that was the reason why that, you know, my sister and I and others of our age went. But right now, but you have to understand too, we're indigenous of this land. We are still on the land. Although it's small, it's what we have left. And we, in our way of thinking, our people, northern plains, northern central plains, I can't speak for anybody else, but from what I know of our people, okay, it's what very strong influence of our, what our ancestors did. We don't worship gods, we don't worship ancestors. We learn from them and we know that it's our responsibility to carry on. Each generation has to pick up that responsibility. Now how the next age group does it, that's their business. But we'll be there to show them we have your back. Because every era is different. Okay, so now what, and like I was saying before, this all happened back when I was young with Wounded Knee, 73. Up against the government. It's a whole different set of tactics, a whole different way of doing things that the government is doing now with mercenaries. You know, mercenaries, Tiger Swan, you know, ran the whole show up there. And that's why they were arresting people and putting them in cages and putting black bags over their head. And they were shooting people with rubber bullets and all. They're doing all this stuff that he was saying. They got their training in Israel tactics. So that's what they were doing to our people. But it isn't anything we didn't expect. I mean, because we're land-based, we're going to constantly be, each generation's going to be faced with this struggle. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for us. We are here in the belly of the beast. There's no end of the tunnel for us. As long as we have a land base, we're going to be in struggle. So we take it like that. So.
Can you speak about Alcatraz? You were
Oh,
here
me?
at
Oh.
Alcatraz. We can
Yeah.
come back to you.
Of
but
course.
Yeah, because I
That's fine.
remember you had the question.
Yeah, you were
earlier
there
planned, So I
yesterday.
thought maybe, and then we come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, Alcatraz, you probably, I don't know, maybe you know, this is university year, you probably know all about it. But I didn't get there till the second year. When all the press left and all the weekend warriors and the looky-loos and everybody was gone, okay? But we were having a takeover, occupation of Mount Rushmore because of our land there, the Black Hills, sacred land to our people, and it's covered in the treaty and all of that. Anyway, so we one of the organizers out on the island, John Trudell, he came to Mount Rushmore, so we were talking with him, and he asked me then, he said, can you come out to Alcatraz because we need help for, you know, basically building community, okay? Physical, literally, okay? So I said, really? Okay. And then again, I was looking back and I thought, why did he specifically ask me? Why? Because I was one of the older ones. I was 29 years old. I was an old guy, you know? Because everybody else was in their early 20s or teenagers, you know, all in college and everything. So I said, sure. So I went out, and I got there, and that's what we did. Check things out, see what was going on, and there was a lot of people there, but it was a population of young people, just like at Standing Rock, all gung-ho, just into it, you know, and willing to take direction, and what do we do, you know, and how do we do it and stuff. So I immediately started rebuilding the school there for the children that were there. More of a kind of a glorified daycare, but we did a lot of teaching. You know? And then I got the young women that were there, you know, that didn't have anything to do but kind of cruise around, walk around, I kind of organized them. I said, all right, we gotta get busy and start feeding these people some real food, I mean, just things like that. So that was how I ended up on Alcatraz. And then they sent me to the dock to work at the Pier, I forget, it was Pier 40 or one of them. That's where we had our depot, and that's where everybody was bringing supplies and all of that. So that had to be organized, reorganized. So I was just kind of basically here and there, And finally, towards spring, kind of got things rolling pretty good. So my two older children, I had her with me. That's my daughter, Dawn, my youngest. She was 5 years old on Alcatraz. So I had to go back to South Dakota to get my other two children older. They were in school. But while we were home, the Coast Guard busted the island. So that was my Alcatraz experience. But it was all about establishing, and the first thing you do is community. Because if you don't have a foot in a community, then you're just out here talking head. And we got enough of those. For the long haul and to walk in your talk, you understand that it's a continuing thing. It's a process. And you better get with it, and things have drastically changed since I was young. And so I'm right in there. But I've got your back. I don't have to be on the front lane, I don't have to stand there and take it.
I got your back, way back.
Yeah, way back. I'll stay on Facebook Hill. Well, it was one hill, at the camp, and it was called Facebook Hill because everybody would be up there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you what you were asking specifically about technology, and then to address somebody who's really inspiring for me. I'll talk about so Jackie Fielder. She's actually, I think, a part of this department now. She just had her first class maybe a couple weeks ago or something like that. She's my young Indigenous friend that I had met when I left Standing Rock. The transition coming out of Standing Rock back to here was really hard for a lot of us. And she was taking...
Why?
It was hard to just go from what felt like a loss at the time, and trying to understand the lessons and recoup energy to understand how to keep fighting. Some of it was related to just literally being physically worn out. I had the dapple cough, pneumonia, the highest grade pneumonia around.
People got sick.
Yeah, it was, we were worn out. I'm a California boy. I went through the worst winter I've ever experienced in my life, with stress and close quarters and, communicated diseases and all the stuff that we were all going through. But so my friend Jackie was inspired by the group up in Rachel Heaton and Matt Remley that organized the first divestment campaigns, the modern divestment work around Dakota Access Pipeline that culminated with getting appeasements from Seattle to divest from the big banks that were supporting these pipeline projects. And so the divestment work is something that I'm heavily involved with, and Jackie started that in San Francisco, the San Francisco SF Defund DAPL Coalition. She started that, Indigenous-led. She's much younger than I am. She's an inspiration to me, and it's been a focal point. So when elections aren't working, when you can't stop the police, when you can't change things, all tactics in parallel. Let's do all of it. We'll vote. We'll go stand in front of the cops. We'll occupy land. We'll yell. We'll have banners. But let's go after the money as well. And so Jackie's somebody that's inspiring to me. Jackie Fielder. I hope you guys look her up and follow her in politics and in all stuff. But I think she just took over the class for Alicia Garza here.
So yeah.
Yeah, and so I think her first class was about Dakota Access Pipeline here. But she's somebody that's young and inspiring to me, and as a good friend of mine, heavily involved in politics around racial justice as an indigenous woman, and has that perspective, and I'm happy to call her my friend. And also my young friend Madonna Thunderhawk is somebody that inspires me as well. But yeah, the technological stuff, I wasn't sure what your question was. Do you want to know what technology was used, or what technology you think we should be using, or?
Or I guess like my question was like a bit like muddy of just kind of like I guess coming out with reflections about like, you know, the level of oppression that y'all faced, of like, you know, what advice that you have for people just continue, I guess, like working through all that, like especially after like I guess like reflecting on like I guess everything that like y'all I guess experienced. But
Well, there were. I'm not sure if you're speaking on a very like tactical level or a physical level. I mean, basically, the cops brought all their toys. They brought all their toys to play with. So everything from cell phone jamming tech that would turn your camera off, that would a signal repeater, so it would make your phones work overtime and fry your batteries. The Stingray systems that would capture your cell phones and your contacts. You know, they were improving just very rudimentary tactics, which is the same stuff the Israelis did. They would do this, you know, they do the very calm walk, and then they jam on people. That stuff, you can watch that in videos. They practice that stuff on Palestinian children. That tactic was used on the front lines, and you certainly know that these fuddy-duddy cops from North Dakota, who hadn't organized or done anything of that matter of fashion, they were learning and using those tactics. Well, who was informing them? As it turns out, from Freedom of Information Act, FOIA requests, all the court cases, Tiger Swan, offshoot, founding members of Blackwater, they interface. They're mercenaries. Privatized armies that have had years and decades of killing people in the Middle East and using these practices. They were the ones that were in charge of briefing the sheriff's department. So the sheriff department says, we're going to contract you guys to tell us what to do. And so they came in, and every morning they said, those guys are terrorists. You guys need to up your game. So they call this environmental jihadists. And so you can see a ramp in the violence, right? So the sheriff go from these fuddy-duddies that were like, we don't know what to do, to now they're using anti-terrorist tactics on us because somebody's in their ear, someone they contracted to, which is so they're contracted. The oil company is paying a mercenary group to tell elected officials, presumably the police department are elected, to increase the violence on the citizens. And you'll see this. This is going to increase. This is only increasing. And so, yeah, those tactics were all, I mean, they brought all their toys. We learned a lot of stuff as well, you know. Very simple stuff. We made better shields. We learned how to exist in these environments, how to take care of each other, how to, the indigenous-led media. That was right when live streaming came out. People figured out signal boosting tech, how to modify drones so that they could fly further distances to get the story, freedom of the press. So they'll learn, they're gonna try all their shitty tactics and their toys, and we have to put the time in to change our tactics and to figure out what's next. Blockchain mesh networking for communications, you guys should all be working on that. So, but anyways, I don't know if that answers your question or not. So, yeah.
Dawn, do you have anything to add, to say? Dawn, I'm calling you.
Dawn?
Do you wanna, yeah, please. Yes.
Well, Madonna's daughter, thank you for inviting us here. I met this young man up at Standing Rock also, and Palestine. I want to go to Palestine on one of the trips with you.
You're making a group next year.
Sure. But thank you, everyone.
So, On everybody's behalf, I would like to thank Madonna and Marcos for being here.
Bravo.
And yes,
Yes, before you
Go ahead.
close, I'd just like to
yeah.
invite everyone who did not see the film,
Oh, yes.
Warrior Women, Monday. You have another opportunity next month, November, during the American Indian Film Festival. And I believe it's the 43rd year of the American Indian Film Festival. And sorry to say the executive director passed away earlier this year, Mike Smith. But his daughter carries on the American Indian Film Festival. And that will be during November the 7th through the 11th. So I encourage you
You
to,
send the information and we will put it on the
Okay.
website because we always add
I
resources
encourage you
afterwards.
to
Yeah.
see this documentary that includes Madonna and her other daughter, Marcella.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
And the film is made also with the help of Dr. Elizabeth Castle, which was her PhD dissertation, so actually it's really important to remember that.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I want to thank you all. I want to thank
Yes,
Madonna,
thank
and I would like to present you with this Palestinian, it's mine actually, but I'm going to give it to you. This is Palestinian embroidery from Hebron, and this is the Palestinian kafia.
Yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much. Oh,
For the few hot days
Yeah.
where you are, because I know it's very cold. Yeah.
oh my gosh, look at this.
Because I didn't know we were going
These
to be
are-
so lucky.
These scars like this are
Yeah, but this is, you can wear it like a blouse,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So yeah. So you can have the embroidery and the kafia. You do double trouble.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Oh.
So thank you. Let's give the Madonna.
Thank you.